Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Owl Cove Podcast. I am the new co-host, Braden.
And I'm Senna.
And today's guest is Dean Wilson. Tell us a little bit about him.
He is our dean, as I'm sure most of you know, but he's also a really epic person who I'm sure you guys have seen on social media. I'm sure you've seen around in the halls for Dean's Distress Day. And we are just so excited to have him on the podcast because I think it's going to be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for us to really get to know him, get to know his backstory, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. I'm excited. Let's get going.
All right, well, Dean Wilson, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We always like to start off the episodes by asking people 3 words to describe how they're feeling. So could you give us 3 words to just give us a sense of where you're at right now?
Happy, excited, inspired.
Nice. Okay. I like those 3 words. That's some positive, positive vibes to start off the episode.
It always has to be positive.
Absolutely. I agree with you 1,000%. So first to start off, I think a lot of people see your face on campus. They know your name, but they don't know much about your backstory, where you came from, what your upbringing was like. So what can you tell us about all of that? Where did you come from? What was your upbringing like?
Well, that's a loaded question, but it all starts in the Rocky Mountain region of the United States in a place called Salt Lake City, Utah. So if you're familiar with the Winter Olympics, gives you a little bit of an understanding of just majestic mountains. And I grew up, I was the oldest of 6 children in a very humble household. And so literally from the day that I could work, it was all about working and supporting myself. So whether it was a newspaper route, whether it was working late nights at a grocery store, whether it was delivering pharmaceuticals, you name it, I had my hands in it because I knew that growing up, I wanted to be a lawyer. In fact, from the age of 3, I had made that decision. And I knew what the value of a higher education would be, but I also knew that my parents weren't going to be able to pay for my education. So I needed to do it myself. And so I think, that was really a lot of hard work and an understanding that really if higher education was going to be accessible to me, it was going to be at my local university. I probably wasn't going to be able to do much beyond that. But if I worked hard, I knew that it would work out.
Amazing. I have to stop you right there, though, because one thing you said that absolutely threw me back is the fact that you said you knew you wanted to be a lawyer from the time you were 3. How is that possible? How did that happen?
Well, that could be an entire podcast in and of itself. In fact, I use it when I do some inspirational speaking or motivational speaking as well. But times were different back then, and when I was 3 years old, Sundays were a very boring day. In our house, it was you went to church, and then you didn't do anything else. My parents said you can talk to family, you can talk to friends. I'm 3. Wasn't a lot of stuff to do, and so I would just wander around the neighborhood.
I see.
And I would just walk into houses and strike up a conversation. And one of the houses that I walked into was a widow. Her name was Alice. And one day, the conversation that was, "Hey, Alice, what should I be when I grow up?" And Alice said, "Well, that's a really interesting question." She said, "Why do you ask?" I said, "Well, this week I declared to my mother that I wanted to be a fire hydrant when I grew up." My mom corrected me. "You can't be a fire hydrant, Matt.
Right.
You probably mean a firefighter.
Right.
And that's a very dangerous job. And Matt, I love you. So please don't be a firefighter. Think of something else."
I see.
And so that really kind of spawned my curiosity. And so as I talked to Alice, I said, "Alice, what should I be when I grow up?" She said, "Well, Matt, what are you good at?" I don't know. I'm 3 years old. So I asked Alice, "What am I good at?" She thought about it and she said, "Well, you like to talk. So if you like to talk, what would be a good profession?" She said, "Maybe you could be a teacher." I said, "What is that?" She explained. She said, "Maybe you could be a politician." And I don't remember what she explained, but I just remember politician because it was really hard for me to say it at the age of 3.
Right, yeah.
And then she said, "Well, you could be a lawyer if you wanted." And I said, "Well, what's a lawyer?" And she said, "Well, a lawyer is somebody that helps other individuals, talks a lot." She said, "By the way, Matt, your dad is a lawyer." And so at that point in time, I went, well, if I can help people, if I can talk a lot, if Alice tells me that I'm good at it, and if my dad has done it, well, geez, I should be a lawyer. So that became my destination and journey. So even as I was going through middle school and high school, whether it was the test to see, where you were inclined to go, what you wanted to do, I always tried to game those so that it would result in the test telling me that I wanted to be a lawyer.
I see.
Doing activities in high school and even moving into college, it was always like, how is this going to position me to be a lawyer?
I see.
Really kind of a wrench got thrown into my plans.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, clearly, I know you did eventually go on to study law, which we'll get to.
I did.
But I'm curious to know, it's funny, the reason why I bring it up is actually because I have a very similar past to yours. I also have a dad who's a lawyer, and I also as a kid wanted to be a lawyer. Me though, my story is a little bit different where it was more related to because I saw my dad actually kind of do his thing at work, and that's what inspired me to become a lawyer. Obviously, I did not end up becoming a lawyer. That's a whole other story. But I'm super curious to know because I think the thing that we have in common that I think is really cool is the fact that your, I think, life trajectory was like a very windy road. It wasn't like a straight path forward to get to where you're at now, right? Which is actually, interestingly enough, like the story, I think, for a lot of people. But I'm curious to know what happened afterwards. So once you kind of like realized, that you were going to be going to your local university and you told yourself that's probably the best way to go, how did you end up in Japan? How did that kind of, life story take you there?
Yeah, it was voluntary, but it was also involuntary, which when I tell people, they're like, what in the world are you talking about? So, I've always had a service mindset. And so after my freshman year of university, I thought, you know what? I want to volunteer to do missionary work for my church. And it's purely volunteer, and it's typically a 2-year commitment where you go out and you serve others, and you talk to people about your beliefs. And you don't get any money from the church. In fact, you have to pay for it, or your parents or your congregation. So for me, that was going to be very difficult. But I was set to go out and to help others. And then when you apply, you don't get to choose where you go. I mean, the church could send you, I could have gone anywhere in the United States. They could have sent me to South America. I could have gone to Africa. And so when I submitted my application, the church wrote back and said, okay, Matt, you have been called to serve in Hokkaido, Japan.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. And so, there I was like, oh my goodness, how do I unvolunteer? I don't want to go to Japan.
You wanted to unvolunteer?
I did. In
Oh
fact,
my
I
gosh.
think it was more just, fear more than anything, because I had tried to learn French 3 years, middle school, high school. It just did not work, right? It was one of those learn and purge classes where I would learn it, get an A on the test, then it was gone, right? After 3 years, I could tell my girlfriend I loved her. I could count to 50. I could tell people I was not a pencil. That was the extent of my French. And so there was no way that I was going to be able to learn Japanese, right?
Yeah.
So that was probably the biggest fear. Second thing is I had heard that Hokkaido was incredibly cold. In fact, the missionaries that go there are called the frozen chosen because it's just so cold. And then, Japanese food was not big in the United States at that point in time. I didn't like American rice. I thought it was terrible. And the idea of eating raw fish was just beyond me. So my biggest fear is that I was going to go to Japan, be starving to death, unable to tell somebody that, hey, I need some real food. And that was my fear.
Oh, geez.
But thinking, okay, there's got to be a higher purpose in store. Hopefully God will protect me on this one since, the idea is to be helping others.
Right.
Off to Japan I went. And my attitude probably for the first 3 months was very poor. I refused to eat Japanese food. I was looking for anything that was American.
Oh, boy.
I just, it was not a good mix. But at some point, the light bulb came on. Started to understand Japanese. I started to understand Japanese culture. I observed, Japanese society, Japanese people. And I went, you know what? There's so much good about this country and about this culture. I think I need to know more. I think I need to have a better attitude. And the food, I started to taste it. It actually was very, very good.
Yeah, Japanese food is amazing.
Oh, it's just amazing. And as I was walking around the frozen tundra of northern Japan, it came to me that I should become an international lawyer. If I could build bridges between the U.S. and Japan, using my new language skills and my new knowledge, that would be the goal. So I shifted from being just a lawyer to now I wanted to be an international lawyer.
I see. And I know you speak really good Japanese now, right?
Enough,
I've heard you.
Enough to get me by. And then,
I won't let you get away with being super humble because...
I've never heard you speak Japanese.
You've never heard me speak Japanese.
No.
So I speak, read, and write Japanese.
That's so cool.
I've published in Japanese. I've been on Japanese primetime TV. In fact, there was a Kinyobi Roadshow. It was a 3-hour special on Fuji Telebi about the laws of the world, and I actually had a law office on set where
You're a TV lawyer.
they would have the talento, right? That were being asking questions, and then they would come to me for advice, and then I would disclose, okay, this is why this country has this law. I've been on I've been on primetime TV. In fact, Japan had closed its borders during COVID to foreigners, and I did a lot of work behind the scenes to get those borders open, to the extent that NHK came to talk to me when the Prime Minister was announcing that Japan was opening its borders, because they wanted to see my reaction as I was watching the Prime Minister talk. So I was pretending to take notes just so that it looked official. And then the Prime Minister got done, and the TV camera cuts to me, and they're like, okay, so what do you think about the Prime Minister? What does this mean to international education? So
Wow.
good enough to get by, I guess.
Oh, come on. Don't
I
give
know.
me that.
I mean,
Don't give
that's
me
what I mean.
that.
I'm like, there's no way you could be humble about that. That's super amazing.
Mine's good enough to get by. Yours is probably like incredible.
Yeah, we make it work.
Oh, come on.
So I think it's super cool that you not only did this trip to a place that you absolutely did not know anything about, that you didn't really like, to be honest, and then eventually you completely turned around. You started to like the place, learn the language, get used to the culture, and you also started to pursue international law, like you said, right?
Absolutely.
And then how did you pivot then from international law to becoming the dean? I mean, I'm sure the trajectory is a very interesting one because that's quite a pivot to make. So where did you kind of turn around and start to make your way towards education?
Yeah, so I mean, it kind of goes back to your point. Things just don't happen in straight lines, right? So, as you know, I came back from my mission service. I actually was at the University of Utah, and I met this beautiful young student and asked her out on a date. And when I went to pick her up on a date, there was another Japanese lady there, basically to interview me. And it was interesting. We kind of struck up a conversation, and the two of them were friends. So Noriko was interviewing me. And long story short, I went out on a date with Ayako that night, and before you know it, I was dating Noriko instead. And a month later, I was engaged. And 5 months later, I was married. And so here I am, both of us, very poor college students, now married. And we're in Japan because we've come back because we got married here, actually.
Really?
And I needed to find employment. So, you know, my employment ranged from teaching English to developing my own English school initially. And then probably 4 or 5 months after that, I was employed by a Japanese company doing international marketing and technical translation.
Wow.
So I did that. It was a hydrological instruments and meteorological instruments manufacturer, and did that for a few years. And then I got a job in the professional audio and video department of a company called Sony.
Did you really?
And so did that for a little bit.
Just a small company. So
Just a small company.
Yeah, a
that's
small
there.
Japanese company. Nothing big.
And so interestingly, you know, after having kind of accumulated that professional experience, I'm like, okay, now it's time to go back, complete my undergraduate, and go to law school. And so during that process of finding law schools, I discovered Temple.
I see.
And you know, Temple had the campus in Japan, which was incredibly attractive to me. I also love to talk, remember that.
Of
So
course,
you know,
I
I
could tell.
wanted to be a trial attorney. And Temple is ranked number 1 in the country in terms of training trial attorneys. And so for me, it was an absolute dream. So before you know it, it's 1997. I'm here at TUJ, and I'm in a classroom learning Japanese law. And I remember the sun coming through. It was a very cold day, but I was, you know, next to the window. And I was listening to the professor, Professor Beyer. She's director of the law program. And something just struck me where it was like, you know, her job is so cool. I mean, she's teaching people about law. She's kind of, you know, molding their minds. She's imparting her wisdom. She's teaching practical skills. She's helping people find internships. She's bringing in speakers. She's giving them opportunities that they couldn't get anywhere else. And it dawned on me that I wanted her job. And so at the end of the semester, I actually went up and I said, hey, Professor Beyer, I said, I want your job. So when you're ready to go, please let me know.
You actually told her that straight up?
I did, straight up.
Oh, my goodness.
And so she thought that was kind of funny, but I wouldn't let it go. And so I stayed in contact with her. I even hired her to be an expert witness for me when I was a lawyer in a different lawsuit. But that's neither here nor there. But when she decided that she was going to go out into private industry and make more money, sure enough, I got an email from her. And she said, hey, I don't make the decision, but I'm leaving. So if you really want my job, it's coming on up.
Wow.
So anyway, that was kind of what opened the pathway to higher education. So I was here at TUJ from 2003 to 2009, initially as a law professor and director of the law program. And then about a year in, I woke up and I was associate dean over the graduate programs, and then general counsel of the university. And then the next year I woke up and I was senior associate dean running the undergraduate program and overseeing the graduate programs and doing all of that. And so I think as it came through that, I just noticed how fulfilling it was to serve students and to be able to make a difference and hopefully open up doors. As I tell folks, it's not necessarily that I'm smarter, that I'm gifted. I'll work harder than others, but it's just a matter of finding the pathways. And if I can help students find pathways, kind of similar like myself, even if you're average and ordinary, you can open up pathways to become an international lawyer, become a university president, whatever it might be. But, it was really kind of during that formative years where a number of people started to just put bugs in my mind or in my ear in terms of, hey, you might be a really good university president, so you might want to keep an eye out for that. So ended up being a university president in Ohio at the University of Akron, just south of Cleveland.
That was after TUJ.
That was after TUJ.
Oh,
so
really?
So after TUJ, I actually went to the University of Wyoming. And
Okay.
so there I was a professor. I was associate dean of the law school. I was there for about 5 or 6 years, and then we made the move to Ohio, where I became dean of the law school.
And was that the first time you were ever dean?
Yeah, this was the first time I was ever dean,
Okay.
was the law school at the University of Akron School of Law. And then 2 years later, I woke up and they'd made me president of this 23,000 student university.
Wow.
And so that was a humbling experience. We did some really special, some fun things to turn that university around. It was really struggling. And then I shifted to a university in Missouri called Missouri Western, just north of Kansas City. And I had just started that job when TUJ called in 2019 and said, hey, the presidency here in Tokyo is open. We know that you love Temple. We know that you love TUJ. This is a critical time for us, particularly with COVID. Would you be willing to come back? And so the timing wasn't great, but the institution is incredible, and I couldn't pass up the opportunity to come and make an impact here in Japan with students that come to TUJ, because it really is a special, magical place. Was for me, was for my son, and I think it is for the students that are here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the coolest part about the story that I think a lot of people even forget is the fact that you were actually a student here first. So you didn't show up and were like, hey guys, I'm going to be the dean of this university that I know absolutely nothing about. You actually came back to Japan to work here as a dean after having had all this experience as a TUJ student yourself, right?
Yeah,
and I
that's
feel
crazy.
like it shows that you have that kind of like connection to the students that's a little bit different, because we see it through, of course, I mean, the biggest thing I think that you're famous for on campus here is the Dean's Stress Day, which we have to talk about, because I feel like it's something that students enjoy so much. And when they think about you, they immediately think of Dean's Stress Day. And I just want to know, I think this is something that I'm sure a lot of students are curious about as well, but how did Dean's Stress Day actually come about? Like, was that something that you came up with? Was that a thing that you kind of brought, to the school's attention? What was the beginning story of that?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it just goes back to the service-oriented mindset, right? I think that's part of knowing, okay, students get stressed, how do you take the stress out? I also think that when it comes to universities, there's a lot of mysteries that lie within, right? Whether it's major requirements or courses or how to navigate, how to strategize. And so even kind of going back to TUJ when I was director of the law program, I used to go to Costco and get like these massive bags of pretzels or, candy, and I would put them out on the counter knowing that students were coming in from work, they'd be hungry. And so as they would come to grab snacks, I would be out there and just talking to them about, their goals, their aspirations, what they wanted out of the program, how the program was going, looking for ways to improve. And it was almost kind of building on itself, because the next place that I ended up going and having that opportunity was the University of Akron, and as dean of the School of Law, it was like, oh, okay, well, maybe we can do like Thanksgiving dinners, and just, watching when the faculty were serving the students dinner, it was a different conversation. It was a different environment. It was more community. It just wasn't, okay, this is a robotic institution that we have. And we would do picnics, and we would do softball games, and a whole host of things. And so when I was asked to be president of the University of Akron, one of the questions that the board of trustees asked me is, could you scale this up on a larger scale to impact 23,000 students?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, absolutely. And so it was just brainstorming from that point in time in terms of, okay, how could I engage with students to have those conversational opportunities? So students could see that I care, see that I'm accessible, see that I'm open to ideas. And so, whether it was setting up pop-up hot chocolate and cookie stands at certain parts in campus, making special decals for cars and standing in front of the parking lots as people came in and telling people, hey, thank you so much for being here, I'm accessible, to pulling out the basketball standard in front of the student union and having basketball shooting competitions, having bowling competitions with folks, crate stacking. I mean, it just, it was one of those things where I saw how students responded, and it was all about service. I even had a golf cart where I would take people around campus from class to class. We called it the presidential limo.
Oh my gosh.
And so when students found out the day I was doing it, I was getting like tweets and messages saying, hey, I'm at this building. Can you meet me here at like 10:55 and take me from one class to another? And when I did that, I mean, people were just blown away.
You actually did? You came with
your...
Oh,
absolutely.
Oh, my gosh.
University presidents, just don't have time typically. But the investment is with the students, right? And truly students first, and that's the mentality. So when I came to TUJ, well, we don't have multiple buildings to use a golf cart.
No,
so, hey,
although that would be epic.
It would.
If we could make that happen, like to the Owl Center,
and
back.
Well, I was going to say
open campus for tours. We go like to show and stuff like that. What if we just get like that for?
Absolutely. Maybe we should get that, right? And now with the Owl Center and going down the Sancha building, right?
Yes.
Maybe now there's room for that. I may get arrested, but hey,
it'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it.
It'll be worth it.
You speak Japanese, you're fine. You can get.
There we go. So it's one of those things where as I came to TUJ, it's like, okay, what could I do that was unique and distinctive and different? And, mind you, like I've got 4 kids, right? And, particularly when I came in, 3 of them are still in college. I mean, 2 of them are still there. And, I see the stresses, the day-to-day. I understand what it is. And I thought about, okay, what really brings comfort to my kids? And it was food, right? And so I was like, okay, if I could do food, maybe once a month, once every 6 weeks, right? And, bring it in a de-stress manner, students hopefully will not only receive that comfort food, but they'll understand how much I care, understand how much the institution cares and invests in them, and just makes it real, right?
Yeah,
because we're a community. And so it's one of those things where it has become, as you know, an event, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So people line up all the way to the cafeteria to just wait to get whatever
they do,
it
like
is
a
that's
half
there.
an hour before I even start,
Exactly.
right? I mean, it's fun, and it's one of those things where even as you see it, the people that are outside of the Temple community are truly jealous of it, right?
Yes.
I mean, they'll see it on social media, and I've had people say, oh my gosh, I wish that my institution would do that. In fact, I was on main campus, last week, 2 weeks ago, and one of the TUJ students saw me, and it was Dean Wilson, and I'm like, yeah, how are you? And the student was with her new friend, Jasmine, and she turns to Jasmine, and she's like, yeah, so this is Dean Wilson, he's president of the Japan campus, and he serves me food. And she started to explain Dean's Distress Day, and Jasmine's like, well, that would never happen here in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
and the
definitely
TUJ student
not.
was, well, it happens in Tokyo, right? So
Yeah.
and it's just one of those small little things that, hopefully just makes an impact.
It definitely, I can guarantee. In fact, we have some requests from some of our behind-the-scenes podcast team.
All right, bring it, guys.
Yes, one of our camera women, Ria, she actually pointed out the fact that Dean's Distress Day tends to be in the morning. Do you think it would ever be possible that we could have like a morning/afternoon, like a 2, or even like a morning and then in the evening, so that people who are coming throughout the day can also get? Because I think people are missing out.
A staggered Dean's Distress Day.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll have to look into that.
Okay.
I second it, by the way.
You second that?
Yeah.
You want the early morning version?
No, I want the later in the afternoon because I always have class during the time you do.
Got
Dean's
it.
Distress Day. One time, the professor let us go get pizza and come back to class with a pizza.
That was when we were doing full pizza boxes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, good times.
Yeah, Michael
I missed
Chichek
that.
allowed us to go down to grab a pizza and go back up to class.
Yeah, so that was epic. That was Domino's Pizza. And
Yeah.
instead of just doing one slice, it was not a personal pizza. It was a small pizza. And I did 1,000 small pizzas. And Domino's used 16 stores
Oh my
to deliver
gosh.
1,000
Oh
pizzas
my gosh, that is
in
wild.
90 minutes. So as I tell folks, I apologize. If anybody tried to order Domino's that day, I'm sorry. It
was
was
coming
not
here.
happening.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I still remember that day because my sister also, who used to go to TUJ, she and I actually got a box and we sat down and ate it together. And I was just thinking, man, this school is wild. How is it that we're like sitting down eating a box of pizza that we got from the dean? That's just crazy.
It never happens anywhere except for TUJ.
No, and I think that's what makes TUJ so awesome. And I feel like now that the school's expanding and it's getting a lot bigger, I think more and more people are hearing about how awesome it is here, how awesome you are here. And I think one of the really, like, the main things that has been really letting people know how epic and awesome you are is social media, which we need to talk about because there's a lot of very cool footage that you have online.
We got a great team.
We do have a great team. And I think a lot of the footage that goes out on social media of you is always very quirky, very wacky. And I think it's awesome because personally, I think it's a reflection of your personality, just how like open and just, you know, how yourself you are. And I want to know, I'm just curious to know, what is it that you would say really allows you to be like so free, so open, so willing to kind of like, of course you're very, you know, open when it comes to talking to students, but I think like the social media aspect of it is a part that maybe a lot of deans are not so, you know, prone to wanting to do. But you seem to be very open to just kind of putting yourself out there, even if it's in a goofy kind of wacky way. And why is that? I'm just curious to know.
So, you know, I think that the biggest thing is that's my true personality, right? You know, I think oftentimes you lose that as you grow up. And maybe I just never have grown up. But, you know, there's an interesting study that came out from NASA about at what point in time are you most creative? And so they looked at, you know, folks from birth all the way up to like 90, right? And they circled in and said your most creative stage when you're 7 years old.
Really?
Because up until then, you know, you're developing, you're thinking, and people have not told you no. It can't be that way. But
Right.
once you start going to school, you have your parents saying you can only do it this way. You've got your school saying you can only do it that way. So it's almost like the creativity gets pounded out of you, right? And
see.
so my mantra has been continue to be 7 and to be very creative, because I think with creativity spawns a whole host of benefits, right? And
Yes.
part of that is it works in business. I think it works in law. It certainly works in education in terms of being creative. So I'll even encourage my staff to think like you're a 7-year-old, right?
I love that.
And when you do that, it touches, I think, the heartstrings that all of us have. And so I think that's part one. You know, another part is I probably have no shame, right, along those lines. And so, you know, typically, you know, your university president's going to be coat, tie, stuffy, you know.
Which you are right now.
Exactly, right? You
Yeah.
No,
know,
you're not stuffy.
not,
You're not stuffy.
good.
That's you. Yeah, no, you look great.
But, you know, just not really wanting to connect with students, right? But to me, it's all about students. And where are the students? Well, you're on social media. You know, what are you doing? You're being entertained.
Yeah.
And so from my perspective, it's like, oh, okay, well, let's roll with this. Let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And the staff absolutely loves it, right? Because it's not me telling them no, it's me telling them yes.
Right.
And so the creativity grows and grows and grows. And so I think that's a big part. You know, another thing is I've always been a big proponent of social media as a means of communicating.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it was president of the University of Akron and doing social media with my mascot, Zippy the kangaroo, or, you know, whether it's here, you know, having some fun. And it's just amazing. I mean, I'll be going in different places in Tokyo. I mean, the biggest city in the world, and somebody will see me and go, hey, you're like that temple guy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, we saw that, you know, we saw that deal on Instagram of you
Yeah.
jumping off of a building. That was so cool with you jumping off of a building. And I'm like, you know I didn't jump, right? And they're
Yeah.
like, really? Right?
That's
and so,
so
you know,
funny.
it's pretty fun.
Yeah, no. Even actually, one of our camera women, Lulu, mentioned that they also were when they had just gotten accepted to TUJ, right? That their mom basically saw a post of you. I don't know what it was exactly, but it was kind of like this hilarious story, being like, "Is this the dean of the university you're gonna go to?" But in a way, I think it works out, right? I think people have this like very positive image of you as a person, and like you said, I think that's a genuine reflection of your personality, of just how you are. And in fact, I have a personal anecdote to share with you, which I don't know if you even remember, but the first time we ever met was when I was doing an assignment. And for this assignment, we had to do like a really fun skit that was related to journalism in some way. And we decided to do this like fake skit where Hooter was teaching classes, and it was being reported on campus that like Hooter was teaching a class. And I remember somehow we thought, oh my goodness, wouldn't it be so cool to have the dean in this video, like to make it look more legitimate, you know? And you showed up, and somehow, I don't know how we actually got you involved, but I remember you showed up and you were just like, oh yes, absolutely, let's make it happen. And not only that, I remember we had to do this skit where you were kind of like in the classroom with Hooter, like pretending that, you know, Hooter was busy like teaching the class. But then, oh no, actually no, it was that you had found out that Hooter was teaching a class and you were like, what's going on here? And you basically interrupted the class. So you barged in, and I remember thinking, oh my goodness, he's so committed to this bit, because you were then grabbing Hooter, you were pulling him out of the class, and I was like, oh my God, that's our dean. But it was awesome. It was amazing. And I think afterwards too, I did this short film, and I thought, oh my goodness, I need to have the dean in it again, because there's no way that we needed like a dean for the story. And I was like, the dean would be the perfect person to play the dean. I mean, you know, and you were just so down for it. You showed up, you were ready, you had your lines down, we filmed it, and people to this day still ask me, they're like, is that your real dean in that film? And I'm like, yeah, that was him. He was totally down to do it. And I think that's just awesome. I think that really showcases, like I said, just how amazing your personality is, how open you are to helping students. And I think like it brings us back to what you said at the beginning, which is like, you know, you said at first you wanted to be a lawyer because you like talking and helping people. And I feel like you do both of those things here on campus, which is awesome.
And you know, that's the big thing, right? Is, as I tell people always, if you put students first, it turns into just something truly magical. And students know, right? I mean, what you're doing here is just incredible. It's not easy. You know, it's something that is helping make who you're going to be going forward. And to the extent that I can be part of that and I can assist you, whether it's me or whether it's my staff, whether it's my faculty, it really is kind of all in to give you as much support as possible. And so, you know, it's fun when you realize, you know, the significance of that. It's even funner for me when I see you shine doing podcasts and things like this.
Hey, shout out to the podcast. Thank you. No, I appreciate it so much. And actually, on that note, I would like for us to do a little trivia quiz, if you don't mind.
Oh, no.
I know you know a lot about TUJ. And
I hope so.
I mean, I think you're probably an encyclopedia of TUJ knowledge, but we want to put that to the test today.
Oh,
we figured since we're always here on campus doing tests, you know, we're studying, we're trying to make sure we get all our facts straight. We're going to see if maybe we can test you today for a change.
All right. Turn the tables on me. Here we go.
Yes. Are you ready? Are you up for it?
I don't know, but we'll give it a shot.
All right. Well, we've got the questions ready. I'll throw you a very simple one to start off.
Okay.
I think
we'll
this
see how
one you'll
goes.
nail it out of the park. I don't think it'll be that hard for you. But the thing is, before we start, I just want to kind of lay out the rules. So we are going to do a little timer of 2 minutes. And basically, we're just going to try to get you to answer as many as you possibly can within that time frame.
All right.
Does that work?
Time pressure, too.
Yes.
Whew.
And you have two options. Either you can go for answering right off the top, or we can give you kind of a multiple choice. So we'll list out a few options, and then you can pick one. You got to choose wisely.
Sounds good.
You want to try for the multiple choice, or do you want to just go off the top?
Let's try off the top.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Dude, he's confident. I like it.
That's very confident. Let's try it. All right, ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, we're going to start the timer. You can go ahead and give us the cue.
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, what year was Temple main campus established?
1884.
Amazing. Where did the TUJ campus move to in 1984?
Ooh, 1984 would have been to Shibakoen.
Okay, all right. We'll move on to the next one. Which of these events did not happen in 1996? The Temple TUJ campus relocated to Minami Azabu in Minatoku. TUJ located the first executive MBA program in Japan. Or TUJ started offering the majors of communications, arts, and international affairs.
Ooh. 1996, right?
Yes.
So in 1996, TUJ did move to Minami Azabu because I was here in 1997.
Okay.
So I know that one for a fact. Mm-hmm. And this is which one did not occur, right?
Yes.
Ooh, I'm guessing communications and international affairs.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go on to the next one. All right, so what year was the first TUJ alumni reunion held? Was it in 1992, 1994, or 1995?
92.
Okay.
I have no clue on that one.
All right, amazing. We'll see. And then what percentage of TUJ's current undergrad student body is American?
So that depends on at what point in time you're doing it.
Right now.
Right now, it'd be
Yes.
about 35%.
Okay, great. Next one. What month of the year in 1982 was TUJ established?
May.
Okay, amazing. What is the average undergraduate class size?
24.
Okay, and how many students are currently enrolled at TUJ's undergrad program?
2,650. 2,600 and let's see, where did it come in? 2,563.
Okay, all right. And I think that's it.
All the questions.
All right, did we make the time?
Yeah, you made the time. Yeah, you had like 9 seconds left.
All right, well, let's go through the questions and see which ones were correct. Are you ready?
Sure, fire away.
The first question was an easy one.
Oh, that was no problem.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
We knew you would nail that one out of the park. So TUJ was established, the main campus, or sorry, not TUJ, Temple main campus was established in 1884, as you correctly stated. The next one, where did TUJ campus move to in 1984? It actually wasn't Shibakoen, it was Shibuya.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So it started in Shibakoen and then it went to Shibuya, so I had it
Exactly.
reversed.
Yeah, but you got it. Still not too bad, not too bad. The next one you had it correct. In 1996, they did not offer communications, art, and international affairs. That was a little later.
Yep.
But it is when TUJ moved to the Minami Azabu location. The first TUJ reunion was actually held in 1995.
Yeah,
not
that
in
was just a
92.
guess. I
I
had
know,
no
but
idea.
that was not bad. A pretty good guess, pretty good guess. All right, and then what percentage of TUJ's current undergrad student body is American? That's actually 34%. So you were just off by 1%.
Yeah,
That's
but
not
you're,
bad.
but
Let's
you're,
give it to him.
That's true. We'll give it to you. We have new students, right?
it was
So-
about, we've got new students.
Yeah, exactly.
It's,
All right.
it's dated information.
Yeah. And then what month of the year in 1982 was TUJ established? It was actually June, not May.
Oh, so
Another
close.
one-off.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but it's probably one of those things where there were people here on the ground.
That's
in
true.
May.
Probably. Yeah, I can see that. All right.
I know that's the case.
This one, you nailed it out of the park. It is exactly 24, the average number of undergraduate class size. So 24 people per class is the average. So not bad, pretty good.
Yeah.
And then the next one, how many TUJ students are currently enrolled at TUJ's undergrad program? According to the website.
Oh, the website's out of date.
Okay, well, then I guess you probably have the more accurate information. But it's about supposedly 2,202.
Oh yeah, that's really.
Is it
dated.
really
Oh,
more?
Yeah. Yeah. So fall semester here we have 2,663, or 2,563, and if you look at the website, it says we have students from 70 different countries. We actually have students now from 80 different countries. So
Really?
we had 10 more countries represented just between spring and fall.
That's
so
crazy.
That
it's
is
crazy
wild.
to think that we've got
That's
80
so cool, though.
countries represented here, and it is. It's really cool.
Yeah.
But we also had like a huge influx of students coming in the fall, right?
We did.
Which is wild.
Yeah,
We
that
had, like
welcome-
we had 515 new students that came in.
That
That
welcome
is
week was
wild.
huge.
Plus you've got to remember we've got short-term study abroad students, right? So
Right.
those study abroad students cycle out, and then you have students that cycle in. So we have about 170 short-term study abroad students that came in for the fall, and we've got over 200 that are coming in the spring.
That is a lot. That is wild. Well, first of all, I just need to say we need to give you a round of applause because you nailed it out of the park. As we
Got a few
expected
wrong,
you
but
to.
you're close.
Oh, I
on
came
some
up
of them.
short.
Yeah, but it was not bad. I mean, you do know the numbers and the facts, I think, off the
I
top,
know.
which
You
is
knew,
impressive.
yeah. I mean,
I think I got a B grade in that, though.
Yeah, maybe.
That's passing.
I need to study a little bit.
It's okay. It just means you can come back on the podcast and do a part 2. That's all.
Sounds good.
Awesome. And then the last thing I kind of wanted to close off with is I wanted to ask you a few questions about the Kyoto campus.
All right.
I know a lot of people are super curious to know, well, first of all, how did the Kyoto campus kind of come to be? How did that become something that we're not going to be offering in the spring semester of 2025?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. It was January of 2023 when my communications director walked into my office and said, hey, her previous company had been talking about TUJ, and there was this educational institution in Kyoto that had heard that TUJ was growing and thought, wow, we've got some college buildings. I wonder if TUJ would be interested in those buildings. And so she said, well, what do you think? And I said, we're growing. I need space in Tokyo. I don't need space in Kyoto. In fact, that's a couple hours away. How in the world would you pull that off? But I've also learned in my professional life that when an opportunity presents itself, at least listen, right? At least go and check it out. And so I said, well, why don't the two of us just make a trip to Kyoto maybe in February, and we'll go down, we'll look. And so we traveled down. And the second most visited shrine in Japan is the Fushimi Inari Shrine, right? They have the orange gates. There's over 25,000 of them that go up the mountain. You've got shrines going all the way up. I mean, it's just an incredible place. So we actually got off at Inari Station, which felt like Shibuya, and we took a right. I mean, just right there on the street. Walked down 12 minutes, and there's this giant building behind this iron gate that looks like Tokyo Station. And I was like, this is amazing. And sure enough, it's the campus of Seibo Jogakuen. It's the former site of the Japanese Imperial Army. It's their headquarters in Kyoto. And they turned that into a kindergarten through 12th grade campus. And then on that campus, they also had a junior college. And about 50% of the junior colleges in Japan have gone out of business in the last 20 years, including the junior college on that campus. And so there were 3 massive buildings that were there behind this beautiful Tokyo Station-esque like building. And as I started to walk through, I started to go, wow, these are just amazing. And as I was thinking, I was like, Temple has a campus in Rome that's just designed for short-term study away, right? Students go there for maybe a semester or 2. Recently, it's like 3 or 4 because students are really enjoying Rome. And so as I was walking, I started to dream a little bit going, oh, this would be so cool for my students in Tokyo to be able to go and spend a semester or 2 or 3 in Kyoto. Or, maybe somebody wants to, start off their education and they could do like the first year in Kyoto. And another thing is oftentimes when we have new students come in, they're panicking during their first semester because it's like, oh, what do I do in terms of living? What do I do in terms of moving out of the dorm? Well, this would solve that problem because then you could actually go down to Kyoto for a semester or 2, and you don't need to worry about, finding a place to live in Tokyo. And so the more I thought about it, the more I was thinking, oh, that would be just such a great opportunity to offer to the students. And I wish I would have had that opportunity when I was a student to experience both Tokyo and Kyoto and learn even more about Japan. Mm-hmm. So as I brought the conversation back here to Tokyo, everybody was really excited. And then I brought the conversation to Philadelphia, and everybody there was excited. And so it just started to take off. And so plugging in my international lawyer negotiation skills, here I am in Japanese negotiating this deal with Seibo Jogakuen. And so literally 1 year from the day that I first visited the Seibo campus to the day that we actually signed the agreement and did the press conference, it was exactly 1 year.
Wow.
So, I mean, truly amazing. Right now we've got our construction crew in, and we are templeizing the building. So, making it red, making it so that it looks here. It'll be just an incredible opportunity. We've rented about 140 single apartments that we're in the process of furnishing right now.
Wow.
So everybody who comes down will get their own single furnished apartment, and there are a different range of different prices and whatnot. But we've got incredible professors lined up. We've got a leadership program that we have put in where it's a global leadership class and a program. We've got internships that are dialed up. The World Expo is coming up in Osaka, and literally you're 25 minutes away from Osaka from our campus. And you get to just experience the charm of Kyoto, where everybody wants to go and not only visit, but, it can open up new doors and new opportunities as well. So we're pretty excited.
I can imagine. And I know the students are already super excited. There's so many people I've heard being like, oh my goodness, are we going to be able to do different types of classes for our majors in Kyoto? And I've heard that there's actually major specific classes that are going to be offered in Kyoto. And I know right now it's technically supposed to be a temporary, right? You can go there for just a semester or 2. Do you think there's any plans for maybe it becoming a more long-term thing, or is it kind of more just, going to be something that's just short-term, just for kind of a study abroad type of experience?
So a lot of it depends on student demand. Where I see and what I'm hearing is that there's a desire of a good number of folks to go to there for a longer period of time.
Yeah.
And so, with that, it's just a matter of finding the right recipe of classes, right? If I've got a lot of people from international business, for instance, that want to be in Kyoto, we can respond to that demand by setting up a 4-year degree there. I may bring in a new degree and pop it there entirely in Kyoto. I mean, we've got a new master's degree that we're bringing in. So a master in communications management, which is global leadership, cross-border interactions, crisis management, public relations, and public affairs. So that master's degree will be Kyoto only.
Amazing.
And so looking to possibly do that on the undergraduate side. But we've got general education classes, we've got Japanese classes, we've got major-based classes, and you've got the opportunity when you're in Kyoto. If we don't have everything, of course we're not going to. At least we've got online classes up here in Tokyo that you can take advantage of to kind of help supplement and do it as well. And, we're not going to do Friday classes because we'll have activities every Friday.
I heard about that. That's so exciting.
On campus, we've got a traditional Japanese room, actually. And so, using that room that's on campus, we'll have like tea ceremony, how to do that.
Wow.
Japanese ikebana, so
Oh,
flower
fun.
arranging,
Nice.
Japanese shuji. So there'll be a whole host of activities both on and off campus that students will be able to take advantage of.
That is so exciting. I know for a fact that there's people that are already lining up, ready to go, thinking about how they're going to fit Kyoto into their schedule. So I know that from now on, it's probably only going to expand. Sadly, I won't be there because I'm graduating this semester. But I know that all the people who are, going to be going and who are going to be checking it out will definitely be probably reporting back to me and letting me know how awesome and epic their experience is. So
Absolutely. And you'll have to stop by and visit.
I know, no, for sure. If I make a trip, then I'll have to go because I think
Definitely.
I want to see it all, come together. I'm super curious to see how it is.
Well, and one of my dreams is as you get off at the Fushimi Inari Shrine, right, and it's just packed. I'm waiting for one of the advertising spaces to open up because the second time I went down, I said, my vision is on that billboard will be something that will say from one temple to the next, the real temple 12 minutes away. So,
Oh, wow.
This guy gets it.
Wow.
right.
He's got
That
it.
would be epic.
Whatever it is, he has it.
we make it work.
Yeah.
We make it work.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for just talking to us about the history of TUJ, the present of TUJ. To kind of finish us off, I have two quick little questions I'd like to ask you. The first one is a question of the day that we like to ask all of our guests, and that is, what is one TUJ hack that you could kind of impart onto TUJ students?
So this is an unknown hack, but one of the things is I see people standing waiting for the elevators. And the hack that I want to give today is you'll notice that there are two panels. One is kind of, waist level, chest level, I guess. The other one is lower. It actually controls the right elevator. So if you press both buttons at the bottom, it will call 2 elevators down as opposed to 1.
Oh, that's a great
so,
one.
So my hack and my dream is that students that are standing there waiting for elevators, you hit both of the down buttons because it'll call 2 elevators down as opposed to just 1.
That's actually super helpful because you see the line when people come into campus. It just goes all the way almost to the door. And I think if people knew that they could call 2 elevators at once so that then people could eat, not be squished like sardines, that would be absolutely amazing. So that I'm going to take note of that. I'm going to be trying that soon. And the next one I wanted to ask you is, and this is kind of the last question that we'd like to end off with, is what's something you would warn TUJ students about? Is there something you feel like students should know, maybe some advice you can impart on them, something that will kind of make their TUJ experience better in general?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is don't wait. Right? I hear people, I just started university, and so this idea of networking or looking for jobs or those type of things, I can think about that maybe when I'm a senior, maybe a junior. And one of the things that I've learned is put yourself out there. We have speakers that come in, take advantage of those speakers, right? And don't only just come to listen, but come up and talk to the speaker, get a business card made, right? I mean, in Japan, business cards are a language exchange. You hand a business card, you're going to get one back. And then, take that and stay in touch with those individuals, right, in terms of where it is. I think oftentimes, people just say, okay, I'll deal with that later, and maybe it's just my own background because, I wasn't the valedictorian in my class. I'm not the smartest. I knew I had to outwork, kind of out-scrap, really have the grit that's there. And so I think that's probably the biggest thing is don't wait and don't be shy, right? If you're thinking, how do I talk to this person? What do I do? Figure it out, right? You figure out unique strategies to try and connect with people because that's what's going to open doors. That's what's going to help you get jobs. That's what's going to get you to your dream in addition to earning that degree.
Right. No, I love that. And I think that connection is something that is so crucial, and it feels hard to do that when you're in a foreign country because it feels like everything's new, everything is so unknown. But I feel like I agree with you that definitely that's kind of the most important step that you should be investing all of your time into because it's going to make or break your experience. Right?
And one of the things that's interesting about that foreign country thing, I actually think it's easier to do it in a foreign country than it is elsewhere because the people that are here, particularly that are foreigners, we're all out of our element, right? And when the foreigners came to Japan, it was very uncomfortable for them. And so I think because we're all out of our element, there was a level of discomfort and everybody is in the same ball game.
Yeah.
I actually think it's easier to talk and to open those doors because the people that are here know what you're going through, right? And they're very sympathetic to it and they want to know your story, right? And maybe they're tired of speaking Japanese and they want to speak with somebody in English, right? And so I think it's actually easier to open doors. But that's a tough thing to realize. So
Yeah.
that's my piece of advice for the day.
Amazing. I would like to cut here to ask actually really quick what minute point we're at.
Like 48.
Okay, gotcha. Great. We had a little extra quiz for you, but I'm curious to know if you're actually interested in doing it. It's something that we did with Christian. It was a bit of like a slang quiz. And then I promise after this we'll let you go. But we want to know, how confident are you in your Gen Z slang?
Not.
Okay, great. Well, I think
But we can give it a shot.
You want to give it a shot?
It would be kind of fun because I'm going to
Amazing.
be so far off, right?
All right, let's
No,
do it.
I'm sure you can get it.
I don't know.
I think you can get it.
I've heard this stuff, but I don't know.
You get it. You're smart. You got it.
Just give me 1 second, though. Actually, I just realized I need to grab it really quick. All right, so this is a quiz that we actually gave to Christian as well.
And he got them all right.
He didn't get them all right, actually, but he did get a pretty high score. So we'll see if you can beat him.
Do I get multiple choice?
No multiple choice. You just have to guess. All right, just give us your best guess, and that's it. And I'll let you know whether or not it's correct. All right, so Gen Z slang. First question is, what is glow up? What do you think it
You
means?
can get there.
Glow up?
Yes.
It could be like a rave or something, but maybe it's like cheer up.
Okay. Incorrect. That's actually, it's a good guess, though. Good guess. Glow up means, for example, when you're kind of like improving yourself in one way or another. It could be physically, it could be like, mentally, whatever it is. It's
I
kind of
get
like
it.
Or
to
like-
improve.
That makes sense?
Yeah, like from high school, I had a glow up, right? Like I
Yeah.
look different. I feel like I look better. My fashion's better. I feel like I think better, type stuff.
All right. I
Not bad,
need
though.
to glow up on the way home.
You probably do. No, I'm kidding. Of course not. All right. Next one. Here we go. No cap.
No cap.
No cap.
No fear.
Not quite. No cap is actually like no lie. Like, I'm being serious.
Ah,
Yeah.
no cap.
Not bad, though. Your guessing is interesting. I feel like you're probably getting it, but not quite. You're close.
I'm going to have to use that.
Yes, please do. I think people will love it. All right. Next one. Delulu.
Delulu. Delulu shops at Lululemon, right?
Lululemon? No. No affiliation with Lululemon.
Lululemon.
Nice try, though.
I got
Nice
the
try.
folks laughing.
You
here.
did, you
That's
did.
like,
We'll give you maybe a little half a point on that one. Delulu is actually for delusional.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
That was too easy.
That was pretty easy. Yeah, I know, but I like your guess. That was pretty
That
good.
was too easy.
All right, next one. This one is stan.
Stan?
Yeah, when you're a stan of something.
Oh.
You can get there.
You can get there?
I feel like you're gonna nail this one, maybe.
Because there's a song that came out even before Gen Z was really
Exactly.
What was the song?
Stan
Stan?
by a certain artist.
Which will
Eminem.
not be named. No,
yeah.
that's too much of a good guess. That's too much of a hint.
Oh my gosh. Is that like a Karen?
No.
No, but that's a good guess.
But that is a good guess. Stan is more like when you're a fan of like a really hard
like a
fan.
big fan of something.
Yes.
A stalker fan.
So who's
Stan.
the artist? Was it like Taylor
Eminem.
Swift? Oh, Eminem.
Yeah.
Eminem, yeah.
Eminem's better.
So
Amazing.
it means basically like stalker fan, but like that's how Eminem really like originally made it.
Yeah, yeah.
But now it's just like it's more like just big fan of something. You follow
He's a
everything.
stan.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can use that one.
Keep the stalker out of there, though.
I'm a Dean Wilson stan.
All right.
Amazing. Look at that. You got to stand today.
Gotta watch out behind me. All right.
All right. Next one is an acronym. We'll see if you can get it. It's IFY KYK.
IFY.
KYK.
Oh, now this is a new one.
It's an acronym.
And there's no profanity in there, right?
No profanity. No.
No.
We keep it clean on the podcast, or we try to anyway.
It's good. It's good to have a family show.
Oh,
going
yeah,
on, right?
yeah. We try.
Let's see.
It's actually a very common phrase that people use. Often when they're talking about,
You've probably used it before.
you probably have, yeah. Especially when it comes to relationships.
What?
Yeah, when it comes to relationships, right?
Sure, I guess.
I fry your what?
No.
Yes.
Nice try, but no, it's actually if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
I
But
did-
people put it in the acronym.
See, I didn't know that. So
I
that was
know.
why, if you know, you know.
But now you're learning all these new things you're going to
I
be able to
know,
use
you're
later.
opening my horizons here.
Exactly. The next one, okay, this one's pretty easy, and I feel like you'll probably get it, but Riz.
Well, I don't know if you can explain Riz, right?
I can, yeah.
I can.
Riz, hey, that person's got Riz, right? They're kind of like
Yes.
really attractive.
Kind of, but it's also
They've
short.
got it, right?
Yeah,
kinda.
yeah. It's more like it's short for charisma, so
Yeah.
that's where it comes from. But yeah, people use it when they're like, you're kind of suave.
Yeah,
You kind of got it.
You got some charisma.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Riz is easy.
Yeah.
Exactly. See, you nailed that one out of the park. Amazing. All right, next one is I'm weak.
I'm weak? Well, I would like to think that it's not when somebody goes drinking and they have too
No.
they have too much in Shibuya and they're gonna lose their cookies and so they're weak. So hopefully I'm not like ducking under the table because somebody's gonna throw up or something like that. Right?
No, none of that, none of that. Well, actually, you're making us weak right now because it's for when something's so funny.
You kind of just like lose control of your body, like
I'm weak.
Exactly.
Well, that's better than the alcohol.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
It
No
is.
alcohol involved. No alcohol
As
involved.
long as somebody's not throwing up, because I saw somebody do that on the escalator the
Oh
other day.
no.
Ew.
Oh
In
geez.
Shibuya?
Yes.
Oh
It
no.
Yeah.
was
buddy.
but it was only at like maybe 9 o'clock at night, so she'd had too much to drink and
Right after
literally
work?
all over the person in front of her. I was
Ew.
like,
Oh
my God.
no.
no.
Oh man.
Oh, no.
And I was coming up and she was going down. I was like, I just didn't see what I saw.
Oh, that's the worst.
So as long as it's not that, I'm good.
Yeah, it's not that. You're
I'm
good.
I'm
No, and probably needs to be a fair warning to anyone who wants to hang out in Shibuya.
Yeah,
Even
don't,
at 9
don't-
p.m.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh boy. Okay, we got 2 more left for you. So the next one is living rent free.
Oh, so if I'm living rent free in your head, right?
There you go. There you go. See, you know that one.
got
You
it.
nailed
Got
it.
it.
There you
Got
are.
it.
See, I knew you would nail this one out of the park. All right, last one. This one too, you'll probably get. I think a W or an L.
A win or a loss?
Exactly. Yeah, but people used to like, oh wow, that's a W,
Like-
or I'll take the L.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that was pretty easy, right?
Yeah, that was easy.
And there you go. That's
It's
it.
a-
That
it's
was
a
the Junkie
sports
slang. Amazing.
Easy.
You say you're a sports person?
Oh, absolutely.
What kind of sports did you do?
Basketball.
Nice.
That's
Oh
why
yeah, you
you'll-
mentioned.
That's why you'll see me out on the court with these guys. They're still trying to figure out how to beat me.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've
Wow.
filmed
Okay,
him.
that's a
He's good.
challenge.
I've seen him play.
Have you
He's good,
really?
yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh,
then
yeah, and you
I
do tennis, right?
Yep. So I played in some tennis tournaments. It's been a while though.
Nice.
So I play on a baseball team here in Tokyo.
Amazing. I didn't know that.
We'll get that in episode 2.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I play on the Tokyo Eagles, and
wow.
I'm pitcher and I'm catcher, and there are a bunch of TUJ folks that actually play with me that I've recruited.
That is amazing.
So
Do you need to stop it?
1 more minute to go.
Okay, gotcha. Well, we'll wrap up here then.
sounds good.
Well, thank you so much, Dean Wilson. I don't even know how to thank you for this epic episode. I think we got a chance to get to know you, to get some laughs in. We learned about the Kyoto campus, about the TUJ campus. Thank you so much for your time. Is there anything you want to say to kind of close out this episode?
This has been a W.
Hey.
Amazing. Wow, look at that. Drop the mic. How else
Let's
can we
go.
end the episode but that? That's amazing. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right. So that was the episode. That was Dean Wilson.
Dean Wilson, what a guy.
I love that episode.
I did
Great
too.
first co-hosting episode for me.
Yeah.
I learned that he spoke Japanese. I've been here for over a year. Didn't even know that.
You never heard him?
Never heard him speak Japanese once.
That's wild. I think honestly this episode was really cool because I got to know a lot of things about the Dean too. I feel like he is just a bag of surprises.
Yeah. Anyone who comes to TUJ is gonna get to know Dean Wilson, and he's just the personality of TUJ for sure.
Absolutely, yes. In fact, I feel sometimes we should swap him out for Hooter maybe. You know, he could be like our new mascot.
For sure.
I'm just kidding.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching.
We really appreciate you guys just checking us out, watching our videos on YouTube, but also listening to us on Spotify. Make sure that you guys follow us on Instagram. We have updates on there, and we also post little snippets of the episode too. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.